Hey everybody, Kelly Engineering here, and welcome to episode 32 of Ragnamod 5. It has been 5 months since I've recorded an episode, and about 1 month ago, up until a month ago, the channel didn't even exist. I deleted the channel. I removed myself from every single Discord I've been a part of, mainly as a precaution, and I cannot and will not go into all of those details, but the channel is back and regularly scheduled programming will continue. But a month ago, when I did reestablish the channel, I've just mainly been spending that time building. As you can see, I have done the Trolloc Tower, and I have finished the immersive engineering factory. I'm not happy with the internals of this, mainly because these high voltage relays and wires, it makes it look really messy. So I need to figure out how I'm going to fix that. But I have 4 diesel generators with biodiesel. I have ethanol and plant oil being made and mixed all together. And it's going into these fluid tanks. I don't think I explained this in episode 31, mainly because it's been 5 months since I recorded that episode. But if you put a lever right here at the bottom of a fluid tank, then if you turn it on, that will activate any fluid pipe that you have attached to it. So yeah, I have those, and the biodiesel can go to any of the diesel generators over here. I put the arc furnace over there. I do not have the arc furnace rehooked up yet, but here are the crushers. So yeah, that's the state of the factory right now. I haven't put everything in there, and when I do, I will be recording that. But as you can see, this is the Trolloc Tower. I am very happy with this, and it took a lot of painted cobblestone, immersive engineering concrete, and iron in order to get this done. But yeah, like I said, I'm very happy with it. I can't get into it right now from the outside. In order to get into it, I need over here. I've been assembling the floors. Boom. Yeah, I've been assembling the floors one by one, and this is where all of my storage is going to be. I'm going to litter this with storage drawers, and all the storage drawers are going to be hooked into an immersive engineering interface. So yeah, that's really what the plan is. In this episode, I am going to go through the basics of hooking up a massive immersive engineering setup. Over here is where Ender IO is going to be. So I'm going to put all my Ender IO machines in here, and they're going to hook into immersive engineering via this part of the tower right here. It's going to be quite the endeavor, but that is what I'm going to be working on in this episode. Another thing that I did in between episodes is I went to Erebus. So yeah, I went to Erebus. I can't stand Erebus, but I wasn't sure whether or not the channel was going to be back, so I was just playing the world as normal. But yeah, I went to Erebus. This is all of the stuff that I have collected for Erebus. And, I also added Danknull to the pack, just because going to Erebus without a Danknull or any sort of portable storage is, I'd just be going back and forth too much. So yeah, Danknull is now in the pack. But yeah, I'm going to get everything together to start hooking up some immersive engineering stuff inside the Trolloc Tower, and I'll be back with you shortly. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going through all of my crushed skystone here just to really prove a point. The drop rates for anything using the crushed skystone is abysmal. I actually am getting a seed over here, but yeah, I just crushed a whole bunch of it. I'm throwing it through the sieve, and I only got 1 seed and 5 Certus Quartz crystals. If you look at the Certus Quartz drop rate, it's 2%, the seed is 2%, and the charged is 0.1%. And even then, I'm only going to get 1 of them. You're better off going into the mining dimension, and here we go. Yeah, you're better off going into the mining dimension, getting the Certus Quartz that way, and saving all of your skystone to make all of the ME controllers you're going to need to make. So I've already crushed this up because I have plenty of skystone just to prove this point. But yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the mining dimension, get more Certus Quartz. I am going to need so much Certus Quartz. Before I do that, I already went through and made a bunch of glass because I'm going to be making quartz fiber. Quartz fiber is one of the things I'm going to need. Here we go. Quartz fiber is going to be one of the things I need to make the Fluix cables. The Fluix cables are going to become smart cables and then dense cables, and those smart cables and dense cables are going to be running all through the walls of the Trellick Tower. So yeah, to make the quartz fiber, it's really easy. You just need glass, the crushed quartz, and more glass, and bam, you get 3 stacks of quartz fiber. Using that quartz fiber, you can, make the glass cable like I want to. The glass cable can turn into these smart cables, can turn into your crafting units. So yeah, of course, the quartz cables are definitely a necessity. Alright, I'm getting my last bit of Fluix crystal over here, and there we go. Alright, so I was in the mining dimension, mined out quite a bit of Certus quartz, not enough charge, so I had to go over to my energetic infuser over there and charge it up myself. But now that I have all of this Fluix crystal, really? There we go. Now that I have all this Fluix crystal, I can combine it with the quartz fiber and make ME glass cable, Fluix. So I'm only going to make, just to start with, like 4 stacks. There we go. And using this cable, I wish I could bring up the recipe. You son of a gun. Here we go. So ME conduits. So from Ender.io, there are ME conduits that I could use to hook into my my E2 system. They combine just like normal conduits do, so I can have a massive stack of them. However, with these ME conduits and these dense ME conduits, they look exactly the same, and you can't color code them. So I'm just going to stick with the normal ME cables and not worry about the Ender.io stuff. If you do want to use the ME conduits, then the regular one has a total of 8 channels to it, and the dense has 32, just like the... Whoa. My world is still loading in. I just got back from work and started the world up. But yeah, the ME conduits, I'm not going to use them. But using all of that, I just want to show you all what the plan is. In all of these windows, I'm going to have storage drawers, so just behind the window. I just have to, my magnet isn't on right now, but I'm going to place a storage drawer directly behind the window, and on the back of those storage drawers are going to be ME connectors that are going to go to the main hub. And the main hub is right through this doorway right here. But it's there's going to be a lot of storage drawers, and I think I'm going to lag out the world if I do it that way, but I want to test it out since I've never made a system this big before. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do initially until I discover that it's not beneficial to the world in order to do it that way. So I'm going to go start setting some things up. Before I get started on installing all the storage drawers, what I wanted to do was actually find a storage drawer material to use. So right here I have black asphalt concrete, and over here I have the same concrete that I used in order to make the Trellick Tower to begin with. So I'm leaning very much towards using the concrete color, because right here it's pretty obvious that it's the same material used to make the tower, but once you cover it with the glass, the white glass, it's not really that obvious. And you can still tell what would be inside the storage drawers to begin with. So what I'm going to do is, let's see here, I'm just going to put that in there, and oh, there we go. And put that in there, cover it back up, and see how it looks from a distance. Alright, so maybe with some more colorful stuff, it won't be that bad. Let's see from a distance. Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna go with the black asphalt concrete. Black asphalt concrete, I think, will have a little bit more of a contrast. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go put all of this concrete back and replace all of these windows, well, the back of these windows, with storage drawers, framed drawers, with the black asphalt concrete. Cool. So I got all of the storage drawers in, and it was a lot of storage drawers. I've also, instead of using storage drawers over here at the top, I've decided that I'm going to put the compacting drawers here. So I've already filled in the compacting drawers with all of the blocks that I've unlocked, and it's all the blocks that are being smelted in each of the smelteries in the villager. So yeah, I've filled all those in, and the rest of them will be filled in time. But yeah, I have all of this filled in. The next thing I'm going to get into, I'm going to make all of the ME controllers necessary in order to throw this in here. So before I hit, there we go, before I hit record, I got some pure Fluix crystals, and using those pure Fluix crystals, I'm going to make ME controllers. I'm only going to make 16 of them for now. I'm going to throw the rest of the pure Fluix in here. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ME glass cables, put some wool with it, and it will make me ME covered cables. Using those ME covered cables, if you combine glowstone and redstone, you'll make smart cables. The smart cables will tell you what channels, how many channels are being used in each of the Fluix cables, and you can put them in a circle over here, put any sort of dye that you want, and it will turn these smart cables into the color that you want. You can actually do that with any of the ME cables. It doesn't have to be smart. It can be the covered, it can be the standard Fluix. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do here. Just make it covered, put some glowstone, and it is a shapeless recipe. Boom. And here we go. So now with all of this, I'm going to go into the Trellick Tower. What I'm going to be doing is, in each of these areas, I'm going to put down an ME controller right here. But unfortunately, there are a total of 40 on each level. There are a total of 40 storage drawers. And, oh, another thing before I do get into this. So if I exit over here, you see that the aesthetics of the Trellick Tower are going to be ruined because you can see the drawers vaguely. I mean, if you're not looking for it, you're not really going to notice it, but I've noticed it, so I'm going to have to do something about it. What I'm going to do is, as I place each of my cables, there are a thing called anchors. Pardon me. So with the cable anchors, I can actually put a cable anchor right here, and then there are a whole bunch of covers. Well, of course, it's not showing me the covers here, but there are covers that I can make out of pretty much any block, and I'm going to hide it like this concrete, and then put it right there so that from the outside looking in, all you're going to see is the concrete. You're not going to see any of these cables. But I'm going to hook in one of these and show you how I'm going to be doing it because, like I said, each cable can hold 8 channels. I'm going to have to turn all of these into dense cables, which can hold 32 channels, and then hook them into an ME controller before they get to the main hub. And the main hub is going to be tackled right inside this central tower. Alright, gonna have to stop right there because I made the same mistake that I always make. I always make this mistake with, I turned these into smart cables to prove the point, but smart cables cannot become dense cables. So this should be the recipe in order to construct the dense cables. But however, because they're smart cables, it doesn't work that way. So I'm going to make 4 more covered cables, get rid of those, and then with these 4 covered cables, bam, now I can make a dense covered cable. And with the dense covered cable, I can use the glowstone and the redstone one more time to make that a smart dense covered cable. But yeah, if it is a smart cable, it cannot be turned into a dense. Yeah, there are no recipes that support turning it back into a standard covered cable. So I am in a standalone world right now, just to go over how I'm going to hook up 40 storage drawers, and I have 40 storage drawers in each of these rows, to a ME controller that can only use 32 channels, as evidenced in Wayla up there at the top, 0 of 32 channels. So in order to do that, I wanted to show off that I have items going over here, and I have items all the way over there on each row. And the reason why I did that is just to demonstrate that an ME controller will always try to, or any sort of storage bus, is going to access the ME controller at the closest point first. So I'm going to power this up, and bam, you see that it is all powered up, and I have these white lines here denoting how many channels are available to me. As I move down the line, you're going to see that I have less and less channels, because say I get here and it says I have 30 of 32 channels available. That's because it's using these 2 storage buses, and those are taking up 2 slots in the channels. But I move all the way down until eventually I have 0. So when I have 0 channels, I don't even though that these ME storage buses are powered up and boom, you see that they're black right now, but when they're powered up, they become like a gray color. So they're powered up, but they are not the color of the cable, which means they are not hooked up to an ME channel. And once again, that's evidenced by Wayla up at the top, device missing channel. So in order to get around that, what we're going to do is we're going to use peer-to-peer. And in order to use peer-to-peer, let's see, we'll hook this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yeah, we're going to use peer-to-peer. I'm going to hook in a crafting terminal as well, just to show off that everything in here is a part of this red and this orange line. However, this wood and wool that's over here down at the bottom does not appear in my ME network because it's not hooked in. So by using peer-to-peer, I can take the channels that are on my ME controllers over here, and with those channels, we'll put you here and use a peer-to-peer tunnel, ME, and yeah, see how that hooked in there? I'm going to actually grab another peer-to-peer just to see, yeah, peer-to-peer item. So with a peer-to-peer item, if I try to hook this in, you see that it is actually connected to the dense ME cable. So if you're doing this sort of operation, make sure you use the peer-to-peer ME. And I'm going to hook that into here. This is about to get it powered up real quick. There we go. Now it's powered up. And since it's powered up, I need to use this memory card. Shift, right-click. You see that it just configured. So I have a frequency on this memory card now that I can transfer to any sort of point-to-point. Now I have 32 channels that I can use now, so I'm going to cut off right here and right here and hook in my point-to-point tunnel, and there we go. Now those are configured to this point-to-point right here, and I'm going to hook it in. You see it says device offline. That means that it's not being powered, but once I do supply some power to it, you see it says device missing channel. Now device is online because it found the channel that is being supplied. In order for these peer-to-peers to work, they require a channel. So I'm going to hook this in over here. You see this is about to turn orange on me. It's powered on. Once it finds there we go. Now I have the channel, and I am back at 16 of 32 channels. 16 of 32 channels. And now everything is being used. So if I go back over to my storage over here, you see that all of the wood and the wool is now part of the ME system. So I'm going to do this for every single floor of the Trellick Tower in the main world. And yeah, like I said before, I'm expecting quite a bit of lag. So with Applied Energistics, there are two different modes that you can play the game, that you can use Applied Energistics with. You can use the channel mode, which is a default of Ragnamod 5, or you can just forego the channels altogether. When you forego the channels, that means that there's more of a chance of lag because things aren't sorted well. So if it's all one channel and I have 15, 16 floors that are all running on one channel, that's going to put a burden on the world. So by using channels, you're just sorting everything out. Everything is compartmentalized, and you don't have to worry about lagging it out. But that's under normal circumstances. I'm still using 16 floors, and I'm going to use a bunch of dense ME cable, so there's still going to be some processing stuff. Whenever I select this ME crafting terminal, it is trying to connect to everything that is in my ME line. So once I have 16 floors of this stuff, it is going to it's going to take a while in order to find everything that's in the network, but we'll jump that hurdle when we get to it, and we'll optimize after we have the whole thing set up. So I have spent the last 2 days in the mining dimension getting as much Certus quartz and charged Certus as I can, because yeah, I've been making a bunch of processors, I've been making a bunch of drives, and I've been making a bunch of Fluix cables, and I need Certus to make Fluix. Since I haven't gotten into mystical agriculture yet, I don't have easy access to Certus and Fluix as I would like. But as you can see right here, I've replaced the storage drawers on this level, and eventually will be all levels, with ME drives. And the reason why is because from a distance, it kind of looks like they're blinds. It has a nice aesthetic feel going to it. I don't know how well that aesthetic feel is going to be once once I actually put the drives in there, and they're like green and yellow and red lights. But for now, I really like the look of it. I'm going to go in here because I have set up the first part of my ME controllers, and I have a dense energy cell and an energy acceptor right here. I had a RF flux plug connected to here, but it was draining way too much power too quickly because I have 4 levels of dense covered cable hooked up, and that is a lot of power drain. But yeah, I have all of them hooked up, and let's go over to Trellick 2. And yeah, you can see that I have everything hooked up exactly how I did in the last shot, with the ME storage buses, the ME covered cables, and the dense covered cables. It's not showing all of the available channels, but because I know from my test world how many channels are going to exist at what point, I can get my point-to-point areas hooked up with no problem. So that's why I have put these right here, and eventually I'm going to get them up here as well with the green and blue. Also, another thing that I did is I am hiding, there we go, transparent facades. I am hiding all of my cables in the walls using covered cables, or cable facades. So they're all painted to look like concrete, and they're doing a great job of hiding everything, or hiding my work so it doesn't look as messy as it possibly could. And yeah, that's another thing that I need these SERDES for, so I can continue making the covered cables. It takes 4 cable anchors. Cable anchor. It takes 4 cable anchors in order to make 4 conduit facades, cable facades. And yeah, so I'm gonna probably get into mystical agriculture very soon, so I have an easy access to SERDES and Fluix. But until that happens, I have another thing that I want to show off. So let's go back to the platform. I have made these cell workbenches and MEIO port. The MEIO port isn't really important right now. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take all of these 4K cells, and I'm going to condense them all. So there are doubles of items in this storage cell that also exist here, and it's just going to consolidate everything and free up some cells for me. I also made a 4K, 16K, and in the mining dimension I have one 64K, but Lord, that was expensive, so I only have one of those. But I have plenty of 16K ME storage cells, and the reason why I built up the cell workbench is just to show off that if you put this in here, then you can create a partition so that only one thing, it's essentially a filter for your storage cells. So I'm going to go grab, I'm going to grab some dirt. 8 pieces of dirt. And in this storage cell, I'm going to put a piece of dirt. Bam. And you see down here, it says partitioned, included precise. So this 16K ME storage cell is now partitioned to only accept dirt. I'm going to take this 1K out, put this 16K in here, and I am going to put in 1 piece of dirt. Oh, it didn't take it. Oh, because dirt's already in the system. Alright, so that did not work as intended. Hold on a second, I'm going to do something that isn't in the ME system. That was totally unnecessary to do. I just took all of the dirt that was in the system out. So, like I said, you see this is as 0 of 16384 bytes used, 0 of 63 types. I'm going to put 1 piece of dirt in, and bam, you see that I have 1 of 63 types. So normally it is an order of operations. So it's going to try to fit something in here first, and it's going to try to find the easiest place that it would be able to put something in here, which would have been this 4K ME storage cell. But since this is partitioned to only accept dirt, it recognizes this as the priority, and this is where the dirt goes in now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of 16K ME storage cells, which can hold, oh man, like 108,000 of a specific type of item, but I am going to configure every single one of them to go in each slot of these ME drives. So the ME drives are not only serving an aesthetic purpose, it also means that I have more storage available to me, rather than making all of the storage drawers, not having as much space to put the storage drawers, and then I have to make all the way up to the diamond drawer upgrades. The reason why I did the ME drives, why I felt it was a better idea to begin with, is because if you look at the storage upgrades in this pack, you see that I need to make a storage upgrade 4, then a 3, 2, 1. And that is a lot of sticks. That's a lot of drawers because the upgrade templates are made using the drawers. And yeah, it's just a bunch of sticks. It's a bunch of resources that I don't want to use, where I could just use up all my Certus, make the ME drives, use up the gold making the processors necessary to make the ME drives, and as a result, have much more storage going on for me. And yeah, that is what I am going to do. In between cuts, what I'm going to do is all of these advanced inscribers, since I'm making so many processors, I'm going to completely automate this. So I'm going to use the glass cables, these Fluix glass cables, probably make 4 for each advanced inscriber, make 4 acceleration cards for each of them, and then make copies of these inscriber presses. And yeah, I'm just going to automate the creation of processors. Alright, before I go on with the automation of the inscribers, I do want to go over with the storage cells. So I have my 1K, 4K, and 16K ME storage cells. Yeah, I have them hooked up to only accept dirt. If you look over here in the cell workbench, you'll see that there are 2 upgrade cards that I can install into each storage cell. That is a fuzzy upgrade and the inverter card. So the fuzzy card just means that stone. Stone shares the same item ID with granite, andesite, and diorite. So if there's like a fuzzy card in here, then if I try to put any of those in there, it'll recognize just regular stone, and then it will also accept the granite, andesite, and diorite, even though stone is not even though those 3 are not part of the partition. So that's what the fuzzy card is. The inverter card just means that instead of this being a whitelist for only dirt, it'll become a blacklist and no dirt can go in there. Yeah, that's what those 2 upgrade cards are for. Another thing I want to go over is I'm going to throw in this 1K ME storage cell, and I'm going to put in a piece of dirt, and you'll see that it has 9 of 1024 bytes used. The 9 of 1024 for 1 of 63 items. If it's in a 4K, that 1 piece of dirt is 33 of 4096, and then the 16K is 129 of 16,384. So in the last clip, I believe I said that the 16K could hold 108,000. It's actually 130,000. So 130,000 of one item can be in a storage cell, or it's like 66,853 for the if you have 63 types inside a drawer. But as you increase the size of a storage cell, each new item will take up a new size of bytes used. So if I try to put in, I'm going to throw in this 1K again. If I throw in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, actually just throw in one more piece of dirt, you see that it is still 9 of 1024. If I throw in 8 more, then it's become 10. So it's not, I don't know the exact number for each increase in the bytes used, but you don't really have to worry about it. But every new item you throw in, it will take up another 9 bytes. So yeah, 63 times 9, I'm terrible at mental math. I don't know what that is. I'll throw it up on the screen. But that is how much space you would be using by default in your storage cell for 63 types. Actually. But yeah, so that's just something to be mindful of. The first item that you add of a different type will take up a set amount. You can change that in the config to disable that, and I did that in Project Ozone 3. I'm not going to do that in Ragnamod. But yeah, that's just something to be mindful of whenever you're using the storage cells. I don't have to worry about that because each 16K ME storage cell is only going to be tagged for one item. And yeah, that item for this particular one is going to be dirt, but I'll also have a stone. I'll also have an iron ore, so on and so forth. And I'll be able to hold 130,000 of each of those individual items. Alright, this janky looking setup right here is my temporary automation for all of the processors for AE2. I have to supply it with the pure Certus quartz, diamonds, gold, and silicon, but yeah, like I said, this is temporary, so I'm not really worried about it. It's all being handled via Ender IO conduits and then ME conduits, just so I could save a little bit of room. The ME conduits will transfer power. It doesn't have to be like a Fluix cable or an AE2 specific. It can be the Ender IO ME conduit. But it's being powered via my Tier 1 solar and lunar panels. And if you look down here, you'll see that each one of the conduits is very specific. So the silicon gets exported under the light gray line, and then inserts on light gray, exports on dark gray. Over here it's orange and yellow, blue and light blue, and purple and cyan. And all of those feed over into here. You see we have the cyan, light blue, and yellow. I also have a red line here in the back from this chicken, which is making me redstone and pumping them into the inscribers. To continue on with the ME conduits, yeah, even though the inscribers or all of the AE2 stuff machines, they don't show a specific sort of power indication anywhere on the machine, but they do require power. It doesn't take up multiple channels in order to use, so one channel can handle all of these inscribers. You don't have to worry about taking up channels with them, and that's good to know, but they do require power. If they don't have power, they will run, but they'll get stuck at like 96% and they won't move beyond that. Eventually I'm going to tear this down, and when the storage facility is done, I'm going to move it into the other half of the Trellick Tower. It's going to be sitting right about here. And I'm going to tie it in via this little passageway here. I'm going to tie it into my ME controller, and it's all going to be ready for automation. This side of the... This side of the Trellick Tower is all going to be for automation. So I'm going to have all of my Tier 3... I'm going to have all of my crafters on the second and first floor of this area. It's going to be pretty massive. I'm also going to throw in all of my Ender IO machines, and those are going to be automated with Applied Energistics as well. When I get to that point, I'll show you how I do it, because it can be a little confusing, but that's a story for another time. With that, I am going to end out this episode. Oh, never mind. Also, on the brown line right here, this exports the completed processor and puts them in this ender chest. And this ender chest is cyan, light blue, and gold. So all the processors come here, and they get imported back into the ME system via this ME import bus. So the ME import bus, I threw a capacity card in here just because I thought that I needed to actually tell it what it was supposed to be importing, but that wasn't the case. It'll just import everything that it sees in that inventory. But it's throwing it into this 16K ME storage cell. You see it has 3 of 63 types. Those 3 of 63 types are each of my processors. I'll just take this out. So yeah, each of my processors. I'm going to throw that back in before... there we go. But yeah, that's how everything is being handled right now for all of my processors. And once I have just too many processors, I'm going to complete all of the dense ME cables and complete all of these floors and try to tie them into somewhere on the ME controller ports. But with that, I am going to call this an episode. I am Kelly Engineering. Next episode, we are actually going to go to the Between Lands, just because in my 5 months hiatus, I went to Erebus, got soul crystals, and soul crystals are required to get to the Between Lands. It was a whole purpose for going there. So yeah, next episode, we're going to the Between Lands. I am Kelly Engineering. I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.